Welcome to the Epcotian Adventure,
a podcast where we talk about all things Disney, but we're Epcot-centered.
including tips and tricks, festivals and favorites, and the very latest in our rankings and reviews.
But we're still old enough to remember when Imagineering was called Wed Enterprises.
This is episode 124, the best of the Epcotian Adventure, our interview with Walt Disney Imagineer Andy Hammer.
Or, did you know the Hatbox Ghost was almost black and white? Let's find out why he's not.
So now, please remain seated, keeping your hands, arms, feet, and legs inside the podcast as we embark on our Epcotian Adventure.
We call it Epcot.
Howdy, folks, and welcome to episode 124 of the Epcotian Adventure. I'm Rod.
And I'm Sue.
And, well, we just got back from Disneyland. Woohoo! And Oogie Boogie Bash. And there's going to be a whole bunch of data we're putting together for some upcoming episodes. So this weekend, I think we're just going to take a break.
We are. We're also doing a couple of our favorite episodes as best ofs, kind of sprinkled in here and there. Because we do have some new listeners, and we want to make sure that you guys aren't missing some of our very favorite episodes. So this is one of my personal favorites. Rod, I think you've said in the past that this is one of your favorites too.
Oh, definitely.
This is us chatting with our friend Andy. We're going to introduce him properly in the episode that you're about to hear. But he's one of our very best friends. We love him dearly, and he is incredibly talented. So you guys get to share in the Andy magic.
So this was recorded over Zoom 2 years ago, so you'll notice the sound quality is probably a little lower than our current standard, especially the Zoom portions of this. You'll notice that there'll be some sound dropouts. That's just normal when you're doing this type of interview. So please sit back, relax, and enjoy episode 124, our interview with Andy Hammer. Today we're going to take some time out to speak with our old friend and buddy and pretty much a family member.
I don't know that he'd appreciate being called old.
Oh, good point.
He's younger than both of us. So.
Mr. Andy Hammer.
Yay!
Andy is a longtime friend of both Sue and I, going back to, dare I say, high school days.
Yep, all the way to high school. We met doing a high school theater production. Went on to go to a theater conservatory together where we both studied technical theater, and he's just been a member of the family forever.
Yeah, I used to sign Andy into Disneyland years and years ago, and I knew he was either going to be an annual pass holder or an Imagineer, and to nobody's surprise, he became an Imagineer. He's also worked with other groups like Universal Creative, and has also worked with a third-party group doing things for Tokyo Disney Sea even, so...
And he does TV shows and film work and all kinds of stuff as behind the scenes. He's an incredibly talented scenic artist. He does paint and texture and scenic design and set decorating. He's just all around talented.
And gentlemen,
a super nice guy.
Gentlemen, I hate to tell you this, but yes, he has done the bane of our existence. Hallmark movies.
Yay! Christmas Hallmark movies.
There's one movie. It's the same movie every time.
I'm not arguing, but it's a good movie.
All right, so without any further ado, here's our interview with Andy Hammer.
Hi, it's so good to see you first. I just want to say hi.
Hi.
I've seen you forever.
Just a quick introduction. This is Andy Hammer. He is an ex-Imagineer, I guess is the best way to put that. Former Imagineer. Yeah, that's even better. He's also worked for Universal Creative and is currently working on a third-party project for Tokyo Disney Sea. So, hi.
That sounds so fancy.
Right?
And in pure disclosure, we all grew up together. So
which is the first thing. We're going to have Andy tell us how we're all connected.
Yeah, there we go.
So Andy, first, just say hi and tell us who you are and how we all know each other.
Hello, I am Andy Hammer, and that is my real name.
It's Hammer time.
I know Sue because I met her backstage at our high school theater where...
I was waiting for this story.
Yeah. The first thing she ever said to me was, don't touch the props. So naturally, we've been friends forever. So
it's true. That's how lifelong friendships start.
Right. And then, of course, I started hearing stories of her big brother who worked for Disney, and I was enamored immediately with Rod.
Well, I do remember quite a few times signing you into Disneyland and walking around with you at the parks and answering a lot of questions about things that go on behind backstage and how things operate and how things work. And I always admired your fascination and tenacity in being a Disney file, really.
I think that's probably a really nice word for it. I was probably very irritating at that age. So
I remember thinking, and I've said this to Sue, I've told this story to many people actually, that I always thought you would either be an annual pass holder who was there every day or an Imagineer.
Or both.
And it turned out you've impressed the crap out of us all these years later as an Imagineer. So, yeah. Andy, just so you know, is basically just like immediate family. We'll put it that way.
Totally.
I'm so honored to be felt that way because I feel the same with you guys. So.
Aww. Now we're getting all mushy.
Oh.
Before we dive into your career, I want to know your personal history with Disney. How you became a fan, why you are a fan of Disney, what was the magic that drew you to that as a fandom?
Well, I was a privileged child. I grew up where y'all did, so we were pretty close to the park. And my parents, thankfully, took me to Disneyland, maybe once a year. So I started getting to discover Disneyland very early on, and that was it. That was where my love affair started, for sure, was Disneyland.
It's so interesting because we have this in common where we would go with our family and with our folks. And I think you're in the same situation because having known your parents, they were not Disney fans when you were growing up, right?
I wish I could remember more. I don't know why. And, we hardly went on vacations ever as a family. And you guys knew what an annoying Disney fan I was as a teenager. So as a child, I must have been 100 times worse. So I don't know. It's like the chicken and the egg. I don't know when it started that my parents thought, oh, he might like this. We'll take him. And then started me going, oh my gosh, can we go to Disneyland? Can we go to Disneyland? Like every year.
It's so interesting. We were trying to put that together too, because all of us kids are fans and mom and dad were not. So where does it come from? I don't know. It's so interesting.
I think it comes from a genuine love of escapism. I think for most everybody, Disney adults especially, that it is almost a need for escapism.
Now, this is an interesting question that I did not tell you I was going to ask because that just sparked my interest here. You are an artist.
What?
I know.
Right.
No. I believe the term is artiste.
So do you think that being a Disney fan early on sparked that artistry, or do you think you were drawn to Disney because you had that artistry already in you?
That's a great question, but I 100% know that going to Disneyland and my love for Disneyland absolutely created who I am or changed what I wanted to be professionally. I don't know the right words for that, but it absolutely molded everything that I wanted to be professionally. So yeah, but which came first? I don't know. That's also a great question.
And maybe there isn't an answer. Maybe it was just that you found such a perfect pairing that it just worked,
Yeah, and I feel so lucky to have had that introduction.
Oh,
and
yeah.
to have that influence and to have been privileged enough to do all the crazy things in my parents' front window for Halloween that just made me the crazy person I am today. So.
And Andy also still does Halloween in his front yard, wherever he happens to live. But
yes,
this year was Sanderson Sisters, right?
Yep, it was Hocus Pocus. So.
Yeah, and when we say that he puts things in his front yard, we're not talking about a pumpkin. It is an all-out video and special effects.
Animatronics even sometimes.
He creates an actual set to go in his yard.
The Beetlejuice year.
Yeah, we're still trying to live up to that.
But that's just stuff you do in your spare time. That's just you because you love Halloween.
Right. And that's a creative outlet of always wanting to be a creative director and deciding, well, if I can't do it for work, I'll do it at home.
I love that. I think that's so amazing. What is your first Disney memory?
When I was too afraid to go on adventures in inner space.
Nice.
So my dad sat with me outside the attraction, where naturally I burst into tears because I was positive that I saw my mom and my sister get shrunk down in the microscope.
I remember as a kid, we were actually just talking about this. I remember very clearly thinking that you literally got shrunk down, like watching, because you could see it when you were in the queue, you could see the people getting shrunk down. And I remember having that moment as I grew up going, wait a minute.
Yeah.
That can't be real.
Yeah. Almost like that Santa Claus moment, that who is totally true and real if you have kids to see.
And there's only one Mickey Mouse too. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Right.
But I remember that being like this coming of age moment where I was like, hang on. They're not really doing that.
Yeah. I remember as an adult seeing close-up video of that conveyor belt with the little model people on it and being embarrassed that I was fooled by that. But that it was effective. So
it was absolutely effective.
It's amazing what Disney did with practical sets, though, back then. When you look at today's attractions, I mean, we were talking about this a bit ago, too, with the Frozen attraction at Epcot, where they use the projection mapping inside the animatronics for eyes and faces and things like that. Back then, it was just practical set effects that they would use in dance halls and things like that. It's just amazing how far that has come.
Right. And I was thinking about that in particular because now they would have done some sort of Tower of Terror thing where they would have been able to actually, with a camera, capture the image of the actual people going through and then making a visual image of them in the microscope.
Right, exactly.
And so the old school practical is that much more impressive that it fooled all of us.
I remember going on Indy with you for the first time.
Oh.
And we were walking through the queue. That was when the queue was fully interactive.
Yeah.
Right, and it all worked
down from the ceiling, and the little guy was still trapped in the hole, and like everything. And we got through the queue thinking, "Oh my gosh, this is the most amazing thing ever!" And then got on the ride and getting to the part with no spoilers if you haven't been on it, but the giant ball that's coming at you and you're trapped and they're thinking, oh my gosh, this is it. This is actually where we die. Like,
right.
I remember talking to you when I was a lead at the Haunted Mansion at Disneyland. I remember talking to you about how the effects were done and almost bursting your bubble, I think, on some of those, how simple of an effect they are.
But in a way, igniting that too, because you, in your personal life, have managed to replicate so many of those things just with your own know-how.
Right. And it's funny that you say that because I was just talking with an entertainment professional about my love for the Haunted Mansion. And they were asking, people today, adults that know technology are like, so how do they do those effects? And I was explaining it to them. And I said, they thought it was something much more complicated. And I said, no, the practical effects are actually very simple. I mean, they're a huge scale, but they're very simple. And he was like, yeah, that makes it so much better. And I said, well, I agree, but I'm old. So,
I do remember, even though back in the 80s, people were like, ooh, those are holograms.
Yeah.
Nowadays, just Google Pepper's ghost.
Right. Or I remember having an argument with someone. They're like, no, that's projections on smoke. And it's like, oh, the smoke that you can't see? Like, what? But people are so passionate about it, like.
Right. I love when people are just strong and wrong, just like backing it up.
I mean, I had an argument with an art director, like a technical director who knew how physical things worked. And she had an argument with me about how the stretch room at Disneyland worked. And I'm sitting there going, I have the section on my computer at home. Like, I have the drawings. you picked the wrong person to argue with,
Yeah.
So.
How did that, all of that, how did that translate into you starting as a Disney professional? How did you get in that door?
I mean, as you know, I wanted to be an Imagineer since I was a tiny little kid, but it was basically ingrained in me. Oh, that's way too hard. It's impossible to get to. Just don't bother. So then I went on and was like, I'm going to be a set designer. I'm going to be a set painter. And then just kind of didn't stop thinking about it, but, went on to a more realistic goal. And then it just so happened that someone Sue and I went to school with was a project manager on the refresh of The Little Mermaid. And they needed more painters. So they needed contractors to come in and assist with that. And so just having that, connection of being at the right place at the right time and knowing someone, I was asked to put in my resume, and I did, and I was lucky enough to get that job.
That's so cool. And just to clarify, that is the Little Mermaid, Journey of the Little Mermaid attraction at Disney California Adventure.
Yes, and to clarify, it wasn't when they were building the attraction, it was when they refreshed the Under the Sea scene to black light, and everything had to be repainted from white light.
I actually have a picture that you sent me of a school of fish that you got to work on.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Awesome.
Andy, what year was that?
That was 2012 or 13. And, I went in there thinking I am going to be sanding fish. The guy who ran the shop just out of nowhere came up to me and was like, hey, I think you should just go ahead and paint these clams. And I was like, wait, what? And then it turned into, okay, well, you did such a great job with that. Why don't you do the twisty turtles? And then
I love the twisty turtles.
Me too. So, and then when they were like, okay, you finished that, why don't you go ahead and do the carp with the harp? And I was like, okay. And it was so not like what I thought a Disney job would be. I thought there would be renderings. I thought every color would be called out. And they just sort of gave us this freedom to be creative. And I just sort of ran with it. And the Walt Disney Imagineering rep just liked it, the way that I did things. And I also think that she liked my crazy sense of humor. And so she said, you should really be at WDI. And that's how the long version of, how I got connected there, which...
And you're like, well, okay.
Yeah, exactly. I guess.
So after that, what other projects did you work on?
After that, I got contracted to work on the Alice refresh, which was awesome. And that included being asked to repaint the Cheshire Cat in the middle of the night on the side of the attraction, which is still one of my favorite jobs. So
Sue's heart is going like
I know.
Right now, just so you know.
I remember being on a ladder in the middle of the night in the park, painting that. And again, I thought all the colors would be called out. and then I was just there by myself in the middle of the night painting this iconic character. And I had a cast member walk by and point at me and say, you better not screw that up because that's the most photographed thing in the whole park.
Oh my gosh.
Away. Thank you.
It's true. I have so many pictures of that cat.
So that was awesome. And then after that, that's when the opportunity came when they were ramping up for Shanghai and they needed painters to paint props for Shanghai. And that's when I got to go in and interview, and they hired me at WDI.
It is so cool. It's like living the dream,
Right.
Tell us about your work on the Hatbox Ghost at Haunted Mansion.
Oh, come on.
That old thing?
No, I mean, it's actually a really interesting story. I mean, I was still a temp at Imagineering. I broke my heel. And so I was out for a long time. And then when I finally came back, they were ramping up all the projects for the 60th. And my friend and mentor, Heidi at Imagineering, she knew that I loved the Haunted Mansion more than anything in the world. And so she's tried to get me work on this project. She said, well, he broke his heel. Can he at least do some fabric tests, for the Hatbox Ghost? And so I did. And it's just this crazy, amazing Cinderella story of how I went into a meeting with these fabric tests, and the main figure painter was just, the creative director was talking to him about how the figure should be done, and I was talking, and then all of a sudden I got pulled out of this meeting and was like, you really seem like you know how this figure should be painted. I think that you should do it. And I was like, what?
Excuse me?
I was blown away. My boss was blown away. He's like, why is Hammer painting this figure? Like, this doesn't make any sense. But this was this like amazing moment of, this wonderful man, this creative director at Disney, seeing my passion for something and trusting me with something. And I mean, it was incredible. And not just painting it, but I also was able to color design the Hatbox Ghost.
That's amazing.
The creative director, I started doing tests, and the creative director was like, oh, that's really interesting, because I always thought of him as black and white, because that's the only photo I've ever seen of him. And it's like,
interesting.
Are you serious? Because like nothing in the attraction is black and white. I mean,
no.
So we had to do all of these careful tests of what color palette the ghosts before and after were, and try to fit him in. And so I just kind of did that to the best of my abilities. And once he was painted, I remember getting this email from the creator, Daniel Joseph, saying, oh my gosh, it was not until I walked into the spray booth and I saw him, and it was like, oh my gosh, he's real. The color was exactly what he needed. And it was like, it was amazing. So,
wow.
And then once we were installing him, it became clear that they weren't going to do anything with that new scene that he was in. And so I did the thing that I always do. And I went to the creative director and I said, what are we doing here? Are we doing like pots? Are we doing foliage? Are we doing vines? Are we doing, what's going on here? And he's like, I didn't think about that. And it was like, whoa, hello. Like he has to have this scene that's as, amazing as he is. And so I just sort of found a set decorator that I knew and said, hey, will you order this stuff? And she was like, okay. And so then we painted and decorated the whole scene. And I'm glad we did, because he looks pretty cool. So.
He looks amazing. And I didn't know, I mean, I knew that you did Hatbox, of course, but I had no idea that you did the scene around him. That is so cool.
That doesn't surprise me. The fact that you went from painter Andy to set designer Andy, that's just your nature. So that's awesome.
I love that. Oh my gosh.
So jumping back across the pond over to Shanghai Pirates, you did work on the treasure scene, I believe. Is that correct?
Absolutely. So I was the set decorator for Fantasyland. And so I was trying to finish all of my purchasing before I went. And then all of a sudden, out of nowhere, they said, we need you to leave early because Treasure Cove needs help. And I said, okay. And again, I thought this would be this thing like, hey, we need you to, find a place for these crates or whatever. And I got off the plane in Shanghai, and the set decorator, Connie, for Treasure Cove, who spent 3 years and $1 million on the treasure scene, said, hey, I'm going home for Christmas. I need you to decorate the treasure scene. And she's like, no pressure. It's easily the biggest prop moment in the whole park. So there I am,
accepted.
in Shanghai with a crew who does not speak English, in an attraction with the water already in it.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
So they were doing ride testing already at the same time?
They were doing ride testing already. And actually my first job was in the caves where there's no flat ground. So we are literally trying not to drop tools in the water, slip into the water. But then I get to go to the treasure scene with $1 million worth of props. and just decide where everything goes.
It's
and
like
I'm like,
the culmination of everything you've worked for.
Right? And I was like, I got this. I got this. And so I don't remember how many weeks it was that I spent on track right of the treasure scene, but I guess it was looking pretty good because my other coworkers said that when they got back and started working on track left, Connie, the decorator, just kept saying, make it look more like track right, So I took that as I nailed it. So
yeah. Do you want to talk about like how you left WGI and like what that's about?
It was pretty much spelled out from the very beginning. We're hiring up to build this park, but then all of us were called project hires. So we were hired for Shanghai, and then magically Shanghai got finished. And then there was the reality of, well, we don't have any more projects, so we have to lay y'all off. And, we knew that's how Disney worked. They have huge projects and then they don't. And
I think a lot of people who hear about Disney Imagineering think about Walt's time, when there was the 9 Old Men, and it was you had Mark Davies and Existencio and like the core people who were there forever.
Right.
And don't realize that that's not how it is anymore. And, you hear Joe Rohde, who was there for forever and in charge of everything and, basically in charge of life. But for the most part, they hire per project. They don't hire you to be part of the company. They hire you to do a job on a project.
Absolutely. And there were people that I had thought were there forever, and they said, oh, I was laid off and brought back 12 times in my career. And it's like, oh my gosh. And even myself, who had always wanted to be there and really thought that I had so much to offer, Imagineering, I still, even though I was only there for just under 3 years, I still had that hope. Well, obviously they're going to see, what I bring to this and my passion. And then there's going to be another project for me. And so it was still hard knowing I was getting laid off, but that's the reality.
Yeah. And I would imagine that it helps a little bit that you did come from a theater background, which operates in very much the same way, where you're hired for a show or a season.
Yeah. I mean, my career has been very much different because it literally is project to project. And so whether it be TV show to theater or whatever, then it ends and I go, okay, what's next? What am I going on to now? So that absolutely prepared me, instead of people who have worked for the phone company their whole life and get laid off and don't know what to do. So
I don't even know if people like that exist anymore. Like
right.
That's so not a thing of our culture anymore, is to do one job for your whole life and then retire.
Well, even as just a regular cast member, I was with Disney for 17 years, but over the course of 4 different jobs, really. So I think that's just part of the theme park industry as well as the entertainment industry.
So speaking of you having a theater background and knowing what that is like to work project to project, why don't you tell us a little bit about your background and what led you to be qualified to jump into a project like Little Mermaid?
Yes, I went to theater school, and so I studied. I mean, we studied everything, but I went to be a set designer and a set painter.
And a brilliant one at that.
Oh, why, thank you. So I just went off to the world and did both of those things. And I gradually moved down to LA. So I was at least in the area. But then I just kept doing all kinds of jobs like that, and I worked for a scene shop, which of course did theme park jobs. So then I just kept practicing my craft of scene painting and set painting. And so I guess that ended up making me qualified, which is crazy.
All you need is an incredible amount of talent, which you happen to have. So
stop. I'm just lucky, really.
Yeah, that's it. Lucky.
I was thinking about, this interview and I wanted to say there are so many obviously amazing moments having to do with the parks that I have that are memories that are with you guys.
We should actually talk because we got to take you on your very first trip to Epcot, and that's kind of what we talk about here. So this wasn't on your list of things I was going to ask you, but is there any particular that stands out on that trip?
It was just the trip of a lifetime for me across the board. I mean, to be with the two of you and how excited and knowledgeable you are with everything, it was just there's couldn't have been a better experience. But
getting to take you for your first time to Epcot was amazing. It was amazing.
Yeah. I don't want to be basic, but I think Spaceship Earth is just like all around. I mean, I can't believe I was standing there staring at it and going, no, that attraction is not inside there. Nope. It's not. That's not how that works, obviously. I standing in front of that and knowing how big it is, and still it doesn't look big enough for that attraction inside.
Every time I go through that attraction, I'm like, is this the TARDIS? Because where do they put all of this?
It's like a magic trick every time.
And I've seen schematics of it, and it's still like, there's no way. It just can't be.
Yeah.
And yet it is.
I mean, I've seen that picture of it, skeletal structure, where you see like and I'm like, nope, I still don't believe you. Like, that's just that decoration. It goes right back down underground, and there's, the show buildings under there. So
like Haunted Mansion at Disneyland, you have to go under the railroad tracks, and then
or the people.
Spoilers.
The people who, spoiler alert, think the entire attraction is inside that house, and you're like, oh,
that's cute.
That house is barely big enough for the two elevator shafts.
Yeah, exactly, and a break room, right? Yeah. I mean, that's all that's in there.
The break, like the ghosts are union, they don't need breaks.
Yeah.
No, but the hosts and hostesses definitely need breaks.
So we got to hear about Little Mermaid, and we got to hear about Pirates Shanghai and Hatbox and Cheshire Cat. What is something that you got to do for Universal? Because you've also worked at Universal Creative.
Yeah, I was really lucky. Somebody, again, that I worked with at Disney was working in Universal Creative in Osaka. And she said, I was looking for work, and she said, we need a colorist. And I said, that's awesome. What is that? And it turned out it was somebody just who was to call out colors for the painters. And I was like, I can do that. So I emailed their boss, and their boss said, when can you get here? And Universal flew me out first class. Put me up in a service apartment, and I got to wear business casual and go into an office every day and do things like call out the color for Mario's hat. Yeah, so I worked on the Super Mario Land, and that was the first iteration that was opening of it. So I got to work on digital color boards where they basically just needed someone to translate the colors from the visuals from the video game and determine what color it was in the paint world. So,
wow.
Yeah, for someone like Sue and I who have worked with paint so much, that's like child's play. So,
and getting paid for it.
Yeah, and getting to live in Japan. So that was amazing. But I also remember, I was at Disney when Harry Potter Lands opened, and there was a sort of feeling throughout the company, everyone shaking in their boots, because they were like, oh my gosh, Universal this is a game changer. They have figured it all out. We genuinely have some competition here. We need to up our game. And then I went and worked for Universal, and I was like, it seems like every project is like they're doing it for the first time, whether it's at Disney or Universal.
That's so interesting. I was actually going to ask you then, are the color boards that you created for Mario, do you know, like, is that what they used in Hollywood? Is that what they're using in the next one? Like, did you create that and now that's the standard?
Well, that was what was so strange, is because Florida was supposed to create everything for all, again, I can't count how many lands they're doing across the world. I think it's 4. They were supposed to do everything, and they failed. So then it became the responsibility of the creative department in Japan, which was very small at the time. So that's why I got hired on, because they didn't have enough people. So we thought we were doing the work for all of the parks. And then I was actually working at a shop who were painting this scenery for Hollywood's version, but I was working on Peter Pan at the time. And every time I would go grab the color boards, and almost every single time it was redone by someone else. And I think every single time they open the land, they have different creative directors, different, and it's like they put their own spin on it. And it's like, it just seems like reinventing the wheel 4 different times. So
that's a little unfortunate, because you'd think that they would use their resources better than that.
Right. The difference of doing a project that has a well-established IP, because we were absolutely beholden to Nintendo for their approval on everything.
Right. It's not like you can suddenly go, hey, Mario should have a purple hat.
Yeah, exactly. It's not like creating new IP. We had to do what Nintendo wanted, and if they didn't like it, then
must have been, that just made me think of that first project, Back to Little Mermaid, getting to do the fish. It's not like anyone's going to come in and go, the third fish from the left is supposed to be blue. Like, you could just totally play with those colors.
And that's absolutely what I did. Like the carp with the harp. I was just playing with colors, and I remember telling the creative director, I'm like, this is basically Cher, as a fish. And they were like, that's exactly right. And so, yeah. And that's the difference. You get to play with it and not have an IP holder come in and go, no, that's not the way it's in every movie,
Right.
Every video game.
Now, you just kind of casually threw out there that you were working on Peter Pan. What was that?
Oh, right after the pandemic, and everyone was sort of wondering, what type of work is there going to be anymore? There was a scene shop that won the bid on building and painting the entire attraction of Peter Pan going to Tokyo Disney Seas. So I was lucky enough to be one of 5 blacklight painters that painted the entire production, the entire attraction. It was just awesome. I mean, we had this giant blacklight booth. So for about a year and a half, I worked in the dark. And it was totally different than you would ever think that working on a Disney project would be. I mean, things would come in like a treasure chest, and my boss would say, we don't know what this is supposed to look like, so just go ahead and do what you think it should look like. And
so just make it amazing.
Yeah. And most of the time we would take things and we would do that. And, and again, it was during COVID. So we had so little representation from WGI coming in and looking at things. I remember the scene, if you can imagine it, an entire blacklight scene. And this is a very big attraction. I would say the sets are probably upwards of 30 feet tall. The style is so different than other Peter Pans. There's just so much rock work and so much plant life. I guess it's geared more towards the Lost Boys. Anyways,
interesting.
So the sets were huge, and I remember the day when we had an entire set that had to be bought off via Zoom.
What?
Yeah, and can you imagine like a blacklight attraction and trying to see, buy it off over a camera on someone's computer?
That's crazy.
So, yeah, that was our life.
Not to mention that the color representation is not going to be anywhere close.
Right.
To what you're going to see in real life. Wow. And I remember you painting I think it was Rapunzel's castle. Is that right?
Yeah.
Tell us about that.
That was awesome. But yeah, I was so lucky. They asked me to lead the painting of the castle Entangled in the attraction going into Tokyo Disney Seas. And it was stressful, but it was amazing.
Stressful in the very best way. Like you've been practicing your whole life for this.
Yeah, thinking I have to paint a Disney castle and I have to get it right. Most of it was flat, so unlike the real Disney castle. So
it's not as flat as you would think.
Yeah.
So I want to know, is there any other project that you want to talk about that I may not know about or may have forgotten? Like something that sticks out in your head as being super cool?
Well, including things you've done for TV shows.
Yeah, TV shows or theater or anything.
I mean, it's a fine little snippet that I now am a union set painter working in TV and film. That's an entirely different world, an entirely new part of my life, but it is just as exciting. I am currently working on the TV show The Old Man with Jeff Bridges. I have not seen the first season. It didn't sound like something I would be interested in. And then one day we were on set and they brought in the dogs, and they basically told us that the dogs were like main characters in the show. And suddenly we were like, I'm all in. Let's watch it. But, it is really interesting. The sets are supposed to be in Afghanistan. And here we are on a movie ranch in Santa Clarita in the middle of nowhere in the mud, trying to make these villages that look like Afghanistan. So it's much more exciting than the usual building of apartments that are, look like apartments. This is eroded rockwork and, very old wood and stuff. So it's very cool.
Which you happen to be great at that kind of thing, and textures and natural elements like that. So
yeah, just right up your alley. In a room with me and I can make it old real fast. So,
So you've worked on a million different movies and TV shows and stuff. Lots of Hallmark Christmas films, I hear.
Yes. Yep. Back in the non-union days, I got to work a lot on that. One with Meredith Baxter Birney, in fact.
Woo-hoo!
So that was exciting.
That's so cool. We're going to do a quick fire with you before we let you go. But I just want to say that I just think it's so cool that you have had this passion for as long as I've known you, both for art and for Disney. And it's just so cool to get to see you thriving in that world. It's so rewarding in a strange way because I had no part of it, but see you using your talents is just amazing. It's incredible.
Yeah, I couldn't be more proud of you, Andy.
Thank you so much. Well, you guys have helped so much. You've been such a support network, and you have inspired me in, ways you don't even know with the years and years we've shared this passion together. So, I mean, I appreciate you guys so much as lifetime friends. I'm
Definitely.
Just honored to be a part of your new, endeavor and seeing you guys shine.
Oh, thanks.
Well, thanks again.
All right, we're going to do a quick fire with you. You ready?
Okay.
Yeah, don't be scared.
I'm scared.
Okay, number one, on your last tax return, you showed a deduction.
Pass.
Not that. Okay, we'll move on to number two.
All right. Favorite Disney movie?
I knew you'd ask this. I have to go with Sword in the Stone.
Ooh, good one.
Wow, nice choice.
Curveball. Favorite Disney ride? Like I have to ask.
Oh yeah, Haunted. Mystic Manor.
Oh, very good choice.
Nice. I can't wait to ride that. We have to ride that with you.
Yeah,
so
I know. I would give anything.
Favorite Disney character?
Oh, Hatbox Ghost. He's a character. I can say that.
He absolutely is.
Coming to Florida soon, I hear.
Yes.
Favorite non-Disney park?
Oh.
They still exist.
Oh, gosh. Knott's Berry Farm.
The best flavor of Dole Whip?
Oh. The original? Pineapple? Oh, I said there's other kinds?
Oh, yeah. Strawberry,
raspberry, mango. Yeah. There's a whole bunch of flavors. So next time you're at Disneyland, stop over at Tropical Hideaway. And they have a lot of different flavors. And try the pineapple lumpia because it's pineapple and cream cheese in a spring roll wrapper. And it's delightful.
Yeah, that's where the old Tahitian Terrace used to be there behind Tiki.
See, once again, listeners, even I am learning new things from these people. So that's how good they are. Wow.
All right. Favorite Disney song?
Oh, God.
Attraction or movie?
A Great Big Beautiful Tomorrow.
Ooh, Sherman Brothers. Very nice.
And the last one. Would you rather rope drop at the top of the day or would you close the park at the end of the day?
Oh, close the park at the end of the day. For sure.
I kind of knew that about you.
Yeah,
I was going to say, being Disney adults now, we get to sleep in and go to the park. Yes,
anytime I get to sleep in is like, yeah.
So before we let you go, is there anything that you want to throw in there that maybe we didn't ask or didn't cover?
I'm just honored to be here, and this lifelong passion that we've shared with, Disney parks and the experience. And I'm so glad to have grown up and shared it with you, and that you've let me talk about it. So thank you.
It has been our privilege to get to hear you talk about it. So this has been so much fun.
Yeah, thanks again, Andy.
Thank you.
Well, that was our interview with our friend Andy Hammer.
There was a lot more that you guys didn't get to hear because we just chatted and chatted and chatted. But we hope that you enjoyed what we got to broadcast for you. So that was our replay of the interview with Andy Hammer. I hope you enjoyed listening to it or listening to it again. If you are a fan of Andy like we are, I highly suggest that if you are in the LA area, anywhere in that region, please go check out his current work, which is the Prince of Egypt. It's the regional premiere of the musical by Stephen Schwartz. He is the scenic designer. He is absolutely phenomenal, as he has been since high school. Like, literally, this guy has no end to the talent. So go support his work. We would love to hear a review if you get to go see it. And just keep doing the good work, Andy. You're amazing.
Before we go, we'd like to give a big thank you to our theme music composer, Jason Patrick Rowan, whose music is licensed through Pond 5. And of course, thank you, Phoenicians.
Thank you, Phoenicians. And don't forget to rate, review, like, share, and subscribe. It really does help other people find us. You can find us on social media on Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube, and wherever you listen to podcasts.
The Epcotian Adventure is a $1,000 brunch production and a proud gold member of D23. Thanks for joining us today for episode 124 of the Epcotian Adventure. I'm Rod.
And I'm Sue.
And we'll see you in line.
Bye.
Thank the Phoenicians.
Including tips and tricks, festivals and favorites, and the very latest in our rankings and reviews.
But we're still old enough to remember when Mr. Huddle once told a future Imagineer, "Don't be sorry, just be dead."
Do we really want to use
Maybe
that?
I shouldn't use that. It's kind of funny, though.